So how you all doing? It is really hot out there. It's so hot that it's Sunday, July 7th of the 4th of July weekend, and I decided to come into the office and record the market update videos because it's just simply too hot to be outside right now. Well, how does the real estate market look here in Las Vegas? Is it equally hot with the weather, or is there something else going on? So let's go ahead and find out. I am Justin Miller with the Chung Miller Group. At the Chung Miller Group, we help people buy and sell homes. We help people build wealth through real estate. This is the July market update, which means that I look at data from the month of June, comparisons month over month, so from May 2024 to June 2024, and annual comparisons June 2023 to June 2024. The data are pulled from the MLS and other sources on the 7th of the subsequent month, so this month, July, so that I can make sure I look at the most accurate, complete set of data that will be available during the course of the month. And that way I can give you the most insightful and the most accurate view of what's actually going on in the market. This is the market update for single-family resale homes here in the Las Vegas Valley. There's a companion that comes out approximately 1 week later for the resale condos and townhomes here in the Las Vegas Valley. So watch for that, especially if you're particularly interested in the multifamily housing sectors here in the Valley. All right, so with that by way of introduction, let's go ahead and jump into the data and see what's actually going on. What did take place in June of 2024 in the Las Vegas Valley? All right, first off, prices for resale single-family homes went up. They went up $2,500 to $470,000. It's the median sale price, right? Not listing, but sold price. So the median transaction, half above, half below, that took place in the Las Vegas Valley this past June took place at $470,000. That's an increase of 0.5% from the $467,500 that we saw in May of 2024. It's also an increase of 6.8% over the past year. So from June 2023's $440,000 to June 2024, $470,000. Now, there's a couple of things I want to note here. One is at this $470,000 price point, we are down $10,000 total from the May 2022 peak that we saw in prices for single-family homes. That was $480,000. So we're just over 2 years past that. We've made up all but $10,000 of the drawdown that we had seen. Remember, prices by January of 2023, so 6 months, 7 months after the May peak in 2022, we had come down to $415,000. So we'd come down about 12%. We've made back all but $10,000 on that. That is 2.1% below the peak where we're sitting right now. I'll also comment, there's only 3 months in the history of the Las Vegas Valley where we've seen higher prices than what we achieved in June of 2024. That was April, May, and June of 2022 when we were peaking. So that May peak, the month prior, the month after, those are the only 3 months that have ever had higher median sold prices than what we saw in June of 2024. We'll keep going up for a variety of reasons. It may not be a straight trajectory higher every month. There can be some variation, but we'll keep going up. We will get to and we will surpass that $480,000 mark. There is just no question about that. So that's not some magical number, but it happens to be the most recent peak, in fact, the all-time peak for what we had seen here in the Valley. Now, I want to make one other comment, and that is we are up 7.5% from the January 2024 number through the end of June. So that means over the first 6 months of the year, we're up 7.5%. Now, Over the course of the whole 12 months, we're up a little bit less than that. That means in the second half of 2023, we'd actually seen a little bit of decrease in prices, not very much, from where we had been going at this time last year, but that doesn't necessarily matter. So I wanted to point out this number because in November of every year, I put out a yearly forecast video that indicates what I think the market's going to do going forward over the course of the entire subsequent year. And I had put out a very aggressive price appreciation target that I was seeing for Las Vegas for the 12 months of the year 2024. So I wanted to sort of level set us to where we started the year, and we are up 7.5% from the beginning of the year over the first half, right? If we simply maintain that pace of price appreciation, we'd be up 15% during the course of 2024. We'll find out if that's the case. We'll find out if it's a little more or a little bit less, obviously, as time will tell. I intend to do a half-year review video a little bit later this month that may give us some additional insights about what's actually going on in the market prospectively, in addition to these market update videos that tell us what actually has taken place over the prior month. Okay, so that's what we're seeing on median sold price. Now remember, I look at price in one other manner for the single family housing market, and that is I look at price per foot, because looking at price per foot gives us some indication of what's going on with the internals of the market. If we see price per foot jumping much more quickly than we see median sold price, then what that means is we're seeing a lot more sales taking place at the high end of the market. Conversely, if price per foot goes up more slowly, or actually were to go down relative to the median sold price, that means that we're seeing more transactions at the lower end of the market and fewer at the upper end of the market. So the price per foot gives us a good indication of the sort of dispersion of level of success across different portions of the single family housing market. So we ended June 2024 at $259 per foot. Again, as I've said every month, this is not a good way to price your house necessarily, but it's an indication of the overall trends within the market itself. Okay, so 259, that's up 0.8% from 257 the month prior. That's not terribly divergent from the up 0.5% on median sold price. So that means we're looking at a pretty level market, upper and lower tiers of the market, behaving approximately the same. We are up 7.5% for the past 12 months from 241 to 259. Again, that indicates that where we were up 6.8% on median sold price, we're up 7.5% on median price per foot, dollars of cost per foot on sold properties. So over the course of the year, we've shifted a little bit toward the higher end of the market. I think what's happening is we're just simply correcting for some larger volume taking place at the lower end of the market that we've been seeing late last year. So we've sort of caught up and we're behaving approximately equally across the different price points in the market as we sit here in the middle of 2024. Now, like with median sold price, we'd only seen 3 months higher. That was April, May, and June of 2022. Same thing with median price per foot. We've only seen 3 months higher, also April, May, and June, in the entire history of the Las Vegas Valley. We had peaked at $263 per foot, so we're down from that 1.5%, just as we're down from the peak 480,000, 2.1%. So we're a little below the peak levels, obviously, but we are reapproaching those levels, and we are sitting at a place, frankly, that is very strong relative to historical pricing in the market. We're only seeing 3 months in the history of Las Vegas where prices were actually higher than what we're seeing right now, whether that's at the median or at the price per foot median. Okay, so that's pricing. Well, what about number of units sold? Right? The information about number of sold units, number of pending contracts, those are demand measures, and that's how we look at them. We want to understand whether or not there are buyers in the market, whether or not they're trying to transact and actually transacting in this market, because that gives us a good idea of the trajectory that we might see going forward with regard to prices, as well as, of course, whether or not we've got strengthening sales, weakening sales, etc. They give you an indication if you're putting your house on the market or if you're competing with others to buy a house, what the competition looks like out there. Okay, so this number, 1,858. Number of sold single-family resale homes in Las Vegas Valley in June of 2024. This number is a little bit discouraging. We're actually down 12.8% from the 2,131 that we had seen close in May. Now, this is the first month where we've seen number of transactions declining throughout the year 2024. It's too early with one data point to say that there's some kind of trend emerging here, but this is a suggestion that these interest rates sitting right about 7% are starting to impact the market. It might be something else too, though, and I want to talk about that in just a second. Let me first point out we're down 11.0% on number of transactions from the 2,087 that we had seen in June of 2023. So this other issue, right, we've got the interest rates, but the other issue is actually seasonal. Now, I've spoken over the course of the last multiple videos that we have a seasonal pattern that we see in sales transactions in real estate, and that is December is the weakest month of every year. November is the almost that week, so second weakest month of every year. And then we see throughout January through whenever, we see growing numbers of transactions because of the seasonal pattern that we see. Well, in a lot of markets, this is called the spring selling season, and the spring selling season actually continues right through most of summer before really tapering off in the fall. Here in Las Vegas, our seasonal patterns are expressed a bit differently, right? So if we were in New England, or we were in the Mid-Atlantic, or we were in the Midwest, frankly, what also corresponds beyond holidays to that slow winter period? Really bad weather. People are freezing. They're driving around in the snow. They're traipsing through homes trying to knock snow off their boots or mud off their boots. So in a lot of the country, we see this big drawdown in activity around the holidays because it also corresponds to inclement weather, significantly inclement weather. Here in Las Vegas Valley, I've noticed that actually we get in July every year a significant decrease in the number of transactions that take place. And it's because it gets really hot here in July. Actually, the hottest time of the year in Las Vegas tends to be mid-June through mid-August, right? That sort of 8-week, 9-week period of time. This year, we actually started to experience really significant heat at the beginning of June. And so what I think happened is a lot of people who may have been in the market for the first 2 weeks of the month of June stayed home thinking, let's wait till the weather gets a little bit nicer and then we can go out looking again. Of course, the weather did not get nicer. The weather just kept getting hotter and hotter and hotter through June. And here we are sitting at potentially record temperatures today on July 7th. And in fact, for this entire week in front of us, as well as almost all the week behind us. So I know it may sound funny to suggest that people don't engage in real estate activities when it's really hot out. The first time I personally noticed something like this here in Las Vegas, shortly after we moved here, we went looking for cars. And the car salesperson, a guy went by the name of Cowboy, told us that we'd gone into a dealership on a day when it was very windy. And he said, kind of surprised to see you in here. No one buys cars when it's windy. I thought, well, that's really interesting. It never would have occurred to me. But I started paying attention personally to seasonal patterns since then. And I've noticed in all of the Julys I've been here, July is just a slow month. And this year, I think that slowness started in June because we ended up with sort of July weather starting early in June. So part of the slowdown, seasonal, part of the slowdown is the impact of high interest rates. I don't know that we can read anything into it beyond that. I think it's probably transitory. There are some upcoming headwinds that could keep transaction volume quite low for the remainder of this year. But we don't know what that means as to prices until we start looking at all the rest of demand and all of supply. So let's go on and look at the other demand number, right, which is pending home sales. That's a number of contracts that were written that have not yet closed, because contracts do not get written without a buyer. So a buyer shows up and wants to buy something, that's demand. They put something in contract, that's express demand. It closes, that's great, that's also express demand. So both pending and closed transactions are demand measures. So pending contracts, 1,993, were written in the month of June. That's down, it's down 2.4% from 2,043 that have been written in May. So that did come down some, but that's a much less decrease in volume than the down 12.8% that we saw on solds. So this is slowing. It's still a decent number. Indicates that demand may not be as weak as the actual closed numbers that we saw in June. Now we are up 5.6% from the 1,887 that we saw go into contract in the month of June 2023. So kind of interesting. I do want to point out, so those who've been watching my videos for quite a long time know that in 2023, on a rolling 12-month basis, we had the slowest volume in total number of sales that we had seen in Las Vegas since 2008. So 23 and 8, 31 years. So an entire generation of transactions in real estate here in the Las Vegas Valley had always been at a pace faster on an annual basis than what we'd seen in 2023. Well, 2024, we've been a little better than 2023, but not a whole lot. Now, I want to point out, because it's kind of interesting, there were only 3 months of 2023 that had higher pending volume than what we saw in June of 2024. So we're sitting near the top of what we did last year, which is good. It suggests volume is going to be a little bit stronger than it was last year. Actually, in preparation for my mid-year review, I did a little more research on this. We are sitting in the first 6 months. I'll just throw this out to you as a highlight right now, so that this will sound familiar to you when you get to see this other video. So far, year to date, we've had 12,382 sold transactions in the Las Vegas Valley for single-family resale homes. That's up 2.0% from the 12,142 that we saw in the first 6 months of 2023. So the suggestion then is we're doing a little better than last year, but we're still at very low transaction volume. We're really at these multi-decade lows for transaction volume, whether that's sold or pending contracts. And so you need to keep that in mind. We've been going up on price every month, all 6 months of 2024. even at really low sold and pending volumes. So that we're down a little bit in June on sold and pending volumes does not imply anything specifically with regard to pricing. It just simply says the market for some reason has slowed, and I'm giving you two reasons that I think are actually causing that to happen right now, neither of which are fundamental shifts in the demand structure. Rather, they are very high interest rates and very high temperatures. And so the latter becomes correctable seasonally as we move through July and into August. The former, the interest rate issue, remains problematic and may remain problematic throughout the entirety of 2024. Okay, so that's sold, that's pending, and that's our demand picture. Now, I do want to isolate one particular group of sold transactions just to highlight an issue again, as I have for each of the past few months, because there's so many people talking about this particular thing. I want you to know the actual information, and that is sold foreclosures in the Las Vegas Valley for single family homes. In June of 2024, there were 3 of them. 3, that's it. Now, that number is down a lot. It's down from 19 that we had seen in May of 2024. And that number is not just down from the 19, but if we go back a year, there were 20 foreclosure sales that took place in the Valley. And if we go back over the prior 3 years, the 2 largest monthly volumes that we saw for foreclosed transactions was that 20 and that 19. And we've generally been something between 5 and 6 foreclosed transactions taking place every month. So I make that comment because there are still a lot of people out there chattering about how everything's collapsing. It's unbelievable to me that anyone still listens to these people, but there's a lot of them that are still out there saying these things. Don't get sucked into it. Don't believe it. It is dangerous to you to fall into that trap of believing that kind of totally incoherent, fake information. It doesn't help you to listen to it. It doesn't help you to believe it. It's actually harmful to you. So pay attention to what's actually going on around you. If you don't know where else to look, watch my videos, because I give you the actual data and I can source all the data and I can provide all the numbers, and I do provide the numbers that I'm quoting in the video here on the screen so that you can actually see what the numbers are yourself. The foreclosure numbers, they're close to non-existent. You're not going to get good deals on foreclosures because there are no foreclosures on which you can get good deals, because there's no foreclosures. Okay, so that's the demand side. That's the demand picture that we've got right now. Demand appears to have slowed, but I'm suggesting that at least a part of that is seasonal, and it may not be as relatively bad as it seems. However, we are sitting in a relatively low demand environment because we've had low transactions for quite a while now, all of 2023 and the first half of 2024. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at supply, right? The other side of the market, demand and supply. Let's look at supply, and that is the standing inventory of for sale single-family resale homes, as well as the newly listed for sale single-family resale homes. Okay, and so let's look at those discretely. The first one, for sale. This is the standing inventory that's out there. At the end of the month of June, 4,157. That's a number of single-family homes just waiting around to get offers. Now, some of them are being very actively marketed. Some of them are literally just sitting there in the MLS waiting for somebody to come along and make an offer on them. Be that as it may, that's the inventory, 4,157. It's down. It's down. It's down 2.1% from the 4,247 standing inventory resale homes sitting in the market at the end of May. This is really problematic. We have declined on inventory that's for sale in this market for 16 of the past 21 months. We don't have enough homes for sale, right? And you could think, well, wait, only 1,858 sold. Well, another 1,993 went pending, right? So add those together. You've got just shy of 4,000 houses either sold or went into contract. Right? We've got 4,157 sitting there in inventory. Now, what happens if you're looking for a house and there's one and a half houses for you that have your name on it, and that's it? What if they don't have to match what you want to get? If we start segregating the houses that are actually available for sale to, let's say, the number of bedrooms you want, or the community that you want, or the style of the house that you want, the location relative to work or school that you're looking for, the numbers start to get really small. You may be competing with 10 buyers on one property that's actually meeting your needs. What happens? Maybe you win, maybe one of the other people win. The bidding that takes place on that house goes into contract, great, it becomes a pending sale. What happens to the other 9 buyers who are out there? Maybe they can't get a house because there's no houses that meet their criteria, right? Low inventory is actually problematic, and low inventory causes prices to go up. If inventory is sufficiently low, that there's higher demand than there is supply for particular types of homes. So low inventory is problematic, and it's a large part of what's been driving prices higher, even at really high interest rates, about 7.0% this entire year so far. We've been hovering right around 7% on 30-year fixed rate mortgage interest rates. And every month so far, prices have been going higher. Even though total transaction volume has been low, it's been okay, it's been better than last year, been 2.0% better than last year overall over the first 6 months. But prices, they've gone up over that same period of time 7.5%, even at 7.0% 30-year fixed rate mortgage interest rates. Okay, what about new listings then? New listings have been sort of saving us. New listings have been hovering at, close to break even. Well, new listings are down. 2,668 newly listed single-family resale homes here in Las Vegas Valley in June of 2022. They're down 9.7%, almost 10% from the 2,954 that came into the market in May of 2024, right? Down 9.7%. Clearly, the number of new listings is not even holding inventory flat because inventory fell in June by 2.1%. So we did get new listings increasing significantly from where we were last year, which was really good, but last year was a kind of disastrous year in terms of these inventory numbers. So we are up 6.5% from the 2,505 newly listed resale homes that we saw last year. So we're down significantly. We've been down effectively on new listings for the first half of this year because we've been down for inventory for the first half of this year. We remain really low, and actually the new listings numbers, remember I said seasonally, we get November and December are our 2 weakest months for sales, and consequently a lot of sellers decide they don't want to list at that time. They don't want people coming through their house, enjoying their turkey dinner on Thanksgiving or whatever for the holidays. So they don't list their houses then. So new listings are actually the lowest of the year, also in November and December. The June 2024 numbers are not that low, but they are almost as low as a typical November. We're really low on newly listed properties. Why is that? Well, I've talked about that some in the prior videos. I'll talk about it in my mid-year review video when we get that in a couple weeks. Talk to your real estate agent about it. Find out, what's going on. Most real estate agents for the past 2 years have been saying, we get to the spring, we'll start seeing lots of inventory come back in, because that happens every year in the spring. And they've been all wrong. And I've been saying something really different. And it's because I understand the statistics and the sociology behind the statistics to tell you what's actually going on in this market. If you talk to me, I'll talk to you about it. I'll explain it to you. You'll understand what's going on. And you already understand if you've been watching all of my videos. So instead of just repeating myself here for some of those explanations, I'll ask you, comment, I'll respond, or reach out to me and we can have a conversation about it. Now, this next piece of data, the last piece of data I'm going to do in this video, is the back on market number. This is another one I've been talking about incessantly for 4 years now, literally since early in the pandemic, when we were having the closings, not in April. I probably started talking about this in May. I've been talking about it every month since, and that is back on market. That's failed contracts. That's some buyer and some seller negotiated a contract. Everybody's happy, they're sitting in a contract, they're trying to work through the demands for escrow, and the contract falls apart. Contracts don't just fall apart on their own, right? It's not like they're written on some type of parchment paper that just dissolves. Contracts fail for particular reasons, and some of those reasons are very predictable, and some of the reasons are only a little bit predictable. Some of the reasons can be controlled for. Some of the reasons, they're just things that happen that even though you know it could possibly happen, they're harder to control for. Well, what's back on market look like? Back on market, 755 single-family resale contracts collapsed in June of 2024 and went back onto the market. Now remember, when a contract fails, there's a couple things that could happen. It means buyer and seller walk away from each other. It means that sale, that property that's for sale, could go back into the market looking for another buyer. But it might not go back into the market, right? It might be the seller decides, I'm staying. I don't want to go through this again. Or they decide they're going to rent out the property. Or they decide they're just going to hand it to, I don't know, their children or a friend and do something completely different with it than what they had initially been thinking when they were trying to sell it. So that means this number is a little bit of an undercount of the actual size of the problem, failed contracts. Unfortunately, we don't have a failed contracts statistic that I can grab, so the closest I can get to it is back on market. Back on market, 755, that's 28.9% of contracts failed last month. Now, there's always contracts that fail. Healthy market, unhealthy market. Contract failings, usually something around 10%. Maybe a little bit higher, maybe 12%. Could be a little bit lower, but let's say 10 to 12% is the norm. We're at 28.9%. We've been between 25 and 33% every month since the middle of 2020. We've been 2 to 3 times what we should be on contract failures, on back on markets, relative to sort of the historical norm. There's something unhealthy taking place in this market. And it behooves you to reach out to your real estate agent, whether you're thinking of investing, buying, or selling, finding out what's going on. And please, if you're a real estate agent, if it's me, I'll be able to explain it to you. If it's not me, your agent might not be able to explain it to you. You might want to seriously consider hiring another agent, somebody who can help you understand what's going on, because if they can help you understand what's going on, they can help you protect yourself from what's going on. You're going to have a better response to the contracts that you may get into, whether you're a buyer or a seller. Okay, so that's it for this month's market update for single-family resale homes here in the Las Vegas Valley. I am Justin Miller, co-founder and principal at the Chong Miller Group. At the Chong Miller Group, we help people buy and sell homes. We help people build wealth through real estate by creating knowledge and imbuing knowledge in the people who are participants in the market. Please reach out, send your comments, reach out to me more directly if you have questions or would like my help getting through real estate transactions. And please, if you've not already, subscribe, hit the like button, click the notification bell, and share these videos with your friends, your neighbors, your colleagues, your family members, anyone you know who may benefit by having real knowledge about what's going on in the market, instead of just their being out there living in a fantasy world, trying to find people who actually know what they're talking about, and instead being sucked down a rabbit hole of gibberish and nonsense. This is really important stuff. Real estate's the primary way in which people build wealth in this country. And you want to make sure, therefore, that you're engaged in real estate activities in a way that's going to be most beneficial to you. So I am Justin Miller. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you.